I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand. Welcome back to the witness stand, where we are recapping the Murdaugh murder trial. Through the murders, the investigation, the tiny cell phone video that forever changed this case. And so tonight we're going to walk into the courtroom 1 at Colleton County Courthouse. And the stakes could not be higher. One man, 2 murders, no murder weapon, no eyewitnesses, no confession. Let's talk about the state's theory. The prosecution, led by Attorney General's Office, Prosecutor Creighton Waters, had a very simple but ambitious theory. Alex Murdaugh was desperate. The state's theory is pretty simple. It really came down to 3 things: financial pressure, sympathy, and delaying investigations. The defense's theory, 4 things: no murder weapon, no eyewitnesses, no direct proof, and it was all a circumstantial case. But if you remember, we talked about that before, that it doesn't make any difference if it's circumstantial, if all the pieces are put together and make a jury think beyond a reasonable doubt that he did it. So circumstantial cases are all the time. Sidebar. In everything, and I want to point this out, in every criminal case, motive can help explain why someone might commit a crime, but it is not an element for prosecutors to prove. So they don't have to say why. They just have to give the evidence and say that it proved whether that person did it or didn't do it. So a jury can convict even if there's no clear motive established, as long as that evidence proves beyond a reasonable doubt. And that surprises a lot of people. Don't have to have a motive. We can all surmise the motive, but you don't have to have it. So then witnesses take the stand, and Lord have mercy, there were so many witnesses, and every single one was fascinating. I could not believe how this case completely consumed me. I did not find one piece of this case that I thought was not interesting. But again, I'm nosy. So the jury heard from dozens of witnesses over the 6 weeks, and that included law enforcement officers, crime scene investigators, digital forensic experts, and that was a lot to do with this. It's very detailed. That could have gotten confusing, but I think the guy that presented that evidence did it really well. Friends of the Murdaugh family, law partners, financial victims, medical experts. Ooh, each witness has added another piece to that puzzle. No single witness was going to be able to prove the case, but it was the combination, the prosecution said, of all of those pieces that told the whole story. Okay, next. Alec took the stand. I have to preempt this with, first of all, the snot. Let's just be real. You can say nose mucus, but it was snot. And if you saw the trial, or go back and look at some of the videos, snot, pure tea snot. It was gross. I had to look away. But I digress. This was one of the biggest gambles of the entire trial, was to put Alex on the stand. It was said that his lawyers, Dick, he was a legislator down there in South Carolina. I can't remember if he was Senate. I don't remember, but Dick Harpoon, something like that. I don't remember. I'm probably tearing that name up. I'll get the names of the lawyers. I guess that's important, considered that we mentioned Creighton Waters, who I thought did a brilliant job in prosecution. Okay, so Alec chose to testify, and he admitted that he had lied about being down at the kennels. He admitted stealing money from clients. He admitted to years of an opioid addiction, but he denied murdering Maggie and Paul. Over and over, he insisted, I did not kill my wife. I did not kill my son. The jury had to decide then whether they believed him or not. Then came one of the most memorable moments of the trial. Creighton Waters, prosecutor, spent hours confronting Alex with his own words. He questioned him about missing money, about the lies, about changing stories, about the kennel video. Again and again, Waters returned to the same theme, which was, if you lied about this, why should the jury believe you about anything else? It was methodical, it was relentless, and it became one of the defining moments of that trial. So let's go to a sidebar here. Cross-examination isn't about winning an argument. It really is about testing credibility of the witness. Jurors don't just listen to the answers, they watch how the witness answers. They notice hesitation, they notice confidence, consistency, and sometimes what a witness doesn't say can be just as important. Closing arguments. After weeks of testimony, both sides had one final opportunity to persuade the jury. The prosecution argued that the evidence pointed in only one direction. The defense urged jurors not to convict based on suspicion, emotion, or public pressure. The judge reminded jurors that the burden of proof rested entirely with the state. The verdict. I'm going to insert a little piece of trivia. I don't think it's trivia. I think I'm going to just give you a little tidbit here. When the murder or the verdict came down, I was a guest on another podcast, and I had my husband in another room watching the verdict. I had to have him stand in. And I said, do not open that door unless the verdict is read. The verdict has come in. Not read, but come in. And we stopped the podcast. We stopped talking about it and watched the verdict come in and found that he was guilty. Okay, so on March 2nd, kind of gave it away, on March 2nd, 23, after less than 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Alec didn't show a whole lot of emotion as the verdicts were read, but many people around the country thought this case is finally over. Now, Judge Clifton Newman had some comments, and they became one of the most powerful moments in the entire trial. He addressed Alex directly before imposing the sentence. He spoke with dignity, with restraint, and unmistakable gravity. There was, and I know I'm paraphrasing this, but he said, among so many other poignant things, he said that he was sure He told Alec to his face he was sure that he saw the ghost of Maggie and Paul every night. And when he went to sleep or something like that. And out in his dreams, I can't remember, but Alec said every night. That was a moment. So he sentenced Alec to 2 consecutive life sentences for the murders of Maggie and Paul. Now, if you don't know, consecutive means like a train car, back to back. You have to serve this one, then you have to serve the other one. It's probably a moot point here, because if you serve one life sentence, you don't have another life sentence to serve. But a concurrent life sentence means you do both of them at the same time. And that really is important when you get years instead of life. So if he were to get 15 years for the murder of Maggie and 15 years for the murder of Paul, and the judge said concurrent, that means it would not be 30 years, it would be a total of 15, because they were running simultaneously. But he didn't. He got life, and he got them consecutive, so it was back to back. In other words, we thought he's never getting out of prison. Now, he's not getting out of prison anyway, because he has admitted to so many financial crimes that he will be in prison for the rest of his life. What he's doing with this second trial is he wants to clear his name from the murders of his wife and son. I don't think it's going to happen unless a few things come about. So, the judge, his remarks resonated with so many viewers because they reflected not only the weight of the verdict, but also the profound loss suffered by the victim's family. Sidebar. So what is today's sidebar verdict? Trials are about evidence and not popularity most of the time. Diddy. Jurors aren't asked to decide whether they like a defendant or not. They're asked to decide whether the evidence proves guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And in 2023, the jury said it did. But this story, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It wasn't over. Almost immediately after the trial, questions began surfacing, not about the evidence, but what had happened outside the jury room. A county clerk, unexpected conversations, a best-selling book, allegations of jury influence, and a legal battle that would eventually erase one of the most famous murder convictions in America. Next time on Witness Stand, we're going to meet Becky Hill, and we're going to answer one question. How can a clerk of court overturn a murder conviction? Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. And I look forward to seeing you the next time. So until then, you may step off the witness stand. I'm Beverly, and I'm on the witness stand.